Horror movies. My love for them started very early in my childhood, but I was never allowed to watch them. Apart from horror movies, I was big on reading horror-based books from the library. I found the stories so fascinating. Artwork-wise and story-wise, it was all I cared about. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you will remember that some of the artwork for certain movies was insanely detailed. So much so that the artwork was better than the movies sometimes. One of the reasons I was not allowed to hire these movies was because of the gory and scary artwork. But it didn't stop me from going to the video shop and picking out a horror movie after being totally captivated staring at all the cover art. Video shops were like art galleries for me back in the day. Some video shops were plastered with horror posters as well as cardboard cutouts for big horror movies. It was quite a sight for my young self. I did try different approaches to rent a horror movie for the weekend. One way was putting my thumb over the rating. The only movie that worked for was the Toxic Avenger Part 2. Let's just say I got busted and it didn't go down too well. But that didn't stop me because even as a teenager, I was still thinking of ways that I could watch good horrors. When I was 16, I was finally allowed to watch horror movies, all the ones I dreamt about when I was a child, but I was a bit bored by them as I was expecting them to be way more gorier. Unfortunately, they didn't do anything for me at this age. I think I was a bit too young to fully understand and appreciate them for what they were. I did end up enjoying horror movies, but this wasn't until I got older. I did however watch them from time to time, and they gave me such a pleasing feeling when watching them. Flash forward to a few years ago from now, I was still big on movies at this time, and I was picking up a few horrors every now and then, but I was more into the modern action, thriller, and fantasy genres. All that suddenly stopped when I sat down and watched Johnny Depp's new movie, The Lone Ranger. Ugh. It was absolutely terrible, and I wish I hadn't exposed my eyes to such trash. I wasted my time, so much so that I vowed to only watch horror movies, going back to the classics from the 70s to the early 90s from now on. That was over 5 years ago, and I'm enjoying the horror genre more than ever. I actually started collecting Arrow video films. The artwork on Arrow video films was much more enchanting and vivid compared to the cover art on the videos of my childhood. Each Arrow Blu-ray has a double-sided cover for the new and old artwork for the movie. About a year ago, my viewing experience turned down to a different path, right on down to the Sony PVMs. I own 2 PVMs which I love playing retro video games on. I became so fixated with the display that I decided to pick up a VHS player. What came next was unexpected. All the memories came flooding back when I looked at the horror VHSs. And that brings me to what I like to do now. And that is, I like to share these memories with you. So come along and join me reviewing these old horror movies, as well as other classic movies that I pick up and relive in the moment. Besides old movies, you will see newish movies that I like to bring to light. Newish movies that you may not have heard about. I'm excited to share stories and my history that I have with these movies with you.